Welcome to this session of our class. Today I'm going to talk about angle of elevation and depression. Angle of elevation and depression. Okay. So when we talk about angle of elevation, what is angle of elevation? Okay, so angle of elevation is an angle formed between the horizontal, okay, and when one decides to raise up his eyes or her eyes to look at an object above. So what we are saying now, what is the angle of elevation? So angle of elevation. So it's an angle formed between the horizontal, okay, and when one decides to, so let's say there is somebody here. Don't mind my drawing, okay. There is somebody here. This is the eye level. Okay, this is the horizontal. Okay, and then let's say there is a building, okay, or a tree. Okay, there is a tree here. There is a tree. Okay, and this particular person standing here, now he is looking straight at the tree. Okay, so when we talk about the angle of elevation, it's the angle between the horizontal. So this is the eye level when he was looking here. When this particular person here was looking horizontally at what? At the tree, and he now decides to raise up his eyes and look at an object above. So he now decides, let's say there is a bird on this particular tree. I said, don't mind my drawing today. Okay. So there is a bed, and then this particular person now, so this is our bed. Okay. This particular person, and let's say that this is, this particular person stand here, decide to look at a bird on the tree, that is an object above. So the angle from here becomes the angle of what? Angle of elevation. So the angle of elevation is the angle between the horizontal. So take note of the horizontal. When one was looking straight and now decide to raise up his eyes or her eyes to look at an object above. So maybe as you are watching this particular video, you decide to look, you are also there is a fan in the room or whatever it is, and then you are watching the video horizontally and you decide to look at an object above, a bulb or whatever it is. So the angle formed between when you are looking on your phone or your laptop, whatever it is you are watching me from, straight, and decide to look at an object above is the angle of what? The angle of elevation. So that is about the angle of elevation. All right. So normally in questions you may hear so with the horizontal level, we use a horizontal line, all right, and then vertical objects can be a tower, okay, a tower can be the multi-communication network, the pole that they use. They are vertical, or they can be a building, okay, these are all vertical. It can be a pole, it can also be, we can also have a wall, pillar. All right, these are all vertical objects, okay, even a man, a cliff is a vertical side of a rock. All right, so these are all what? These are all vertical objects that you can also have a tree. So when you see this in a question, when you are solving an angle of elevation or angle of depression, I'll come to that. You use a vertical line to represent, as you can see from our tree. You see that we have our tree to be vertical because it is standing on a horizontal level. All right, and then when one was looking straight and then decided to look at an object above, so the angle from here. All right, so you can see that when the horizontal and the vertical meet, what are we going to have here? A right angled triangle. A right angled triangle. So we may get a right angled triangle. This is opposite the 90 degrees, And then when you have a right angle triangle, the side opposite the 90 degrees become what? It's the hypotenuse, all right? And then if the angle is here, this side is the adjacent, and the side opposite the angle is called the opposite. If the angle is here, then here becomes your opposite, and then this side becomes your adjacent. The side close to the angle is the adjacent. The side where the angle under consideration faces is the opposite, and then the side which is opposite the 90 degrees or the longest side is what? Is the hypotenuse. All right, so when it happens like that, we'll use the SOHCAHTOA. The SOHCAHTOA. Why the SOHCAHTOA? We say sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, cos is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, tan is equal to opposite over adjacent, and then we solve. So this is about the angle of elevation, angle between the horizontal and when one decides to raise up his or her eyes to look at an object above. So this can be a typical example. All right, so I know you have understood the angle of elevation. Let's go to the angle of depression. So angle of depression. Angle of depression. Okay, with the angle of depression is the opposite of elevation. It's also the angle between the horizontal and when one decides to look down at an object below. So let's take it for instance. There is a Kofi is standing. I said, forgive me for my drawing. Okay. Forgive me for my drawing today. It's just an illustration. Don't take it anything serious. Okay. So this is Kofi standing on this particular table. Okay. And as he's standing on the table, there is a ball down here. Okay. So it's the angle between the horizontal. So when Kofi was looking horizontally straight as he was standing on the table, and now decides to look down at the ball. So you see that when you are on a high level, okay, the angle formed between the horizontal, and when you decide to look down, or as you are holding your phone or whatever you are watching, when you decide to look down, when you are looking horizontally straight and you decide now to look down, the angle formed there. All right, so when Kofi was looking horizontally straight and now decided to look down, the angle is going to be formed here. So that angle is called angle of what? Depression. So this is the horizontal level, and this is when he decides to lower down his eyes to look at an object below. So that is the angle of depression. That is the opposite of elevation. I believe you also understand this one too. All right. Let me summarize the two again. So this is about the elevation. The angle between the horizontal level and one looks at an object above. So this is a horizontal level. Okay, this is, let's say, the eye level. Or it can be a point from a certain point and then an object above. So the angle between the horizontal and then when you talk about the depression also be like this. All right, so this is the horizontal level. And then an object below. This is the object below, and then this is the eye level when one decides to look down at an object below. So the angle here is the angle of depression, and then that. So you see that both angles are between what? The horizontal. Depression looking down, elevation looking up. So depression comes from the top, elevation comes from down. So depression comes from top to down, elevation comes from down to the top. All right, so that is about the two. All right, so the conclusion you can draw is that, let's assume that as I'm standing, or there is this particular person who is standing on a story building and then talking to somebody on the ground floor. Okay, so as somebody is standing on a story building talking to somebody on ground floor, the person on the story building talking to the person on the ground floor, the angle from the top to the down is the depression. Okay, from the top to the down is the depression, and then the one standing down also looking at the person on top is the elevation. So if somebody is standing on the top looking at somebody down here, okay, so there are two people. Okay, one is standing here, one is also here. Okay, you can see that the one here on the top is talking to the person here. Maybe on the story building looking down there, both of them are communicating. One is down, one is at the top. So you can see that from this particular person here is the depression. From this particular person here is the elevation. Alright, since the depression and the elevation is happening at the same time, they will alternate, because the horizontal level becomes parallel and this angle will alternate with this angle, and what will happen? It makes the elevation, the depression, become the same as the elevation. Okay, so sometimes you may get a question where you have to apply the two at the same time. All right, you may get depression. Okay, you can use the depression for the elevation, because when the depression and elevation are happening at the same time, they are the same. Okay, they alternate and they become the same. So this concept is also very, very important, and we can apply in our question. All right, so I believe you get a concept of elevation and depression.